Let's welcome in our good friend, Bob Vanderplatz. Merry Christmas to you, Bob. This is the last time we're going to see you this year. How are you, man?
I'm doing very well. Merry Christmas to all of you guys as well. Blessed, highly favored, cup overflows. Steve, what a great time we're living in.
So,
pinch yourself stuff. This is the kind of stuff we've been waiting. We talk about. This is finally, people are out in front of you. That's kind of fun.
It is fun. I'm enjoying it, actually. Yes. So that's my grift. I enjoy it when people do things I agree with. That's my grift, apparently. Yeah.
That's a pretty easy job.
It is. I like getting paid to do that much more than complaining about them not doing it.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about the fact our fair state continues to be in the culture war crosshairs. And one story that made national headlines at this time a year ago is the Church of Satan, under some, I would argue, misguided definition of religious liberty. I defy anybody to hop in the DeLorean and go find any of the founding fathers. Even Thomas Paine, the closest thing to a secular libertarian, Ayn Rand, and the founding fathers that we had, and go tell them that religious freedom means you can put up a statue to Satan. Let me tell you how they'd respond. They'd have you executed. It's not even a joke. You would be executed for that. And that was an argument that we had, and other states are now having across the fruited plain here this Christmas. All right? Except we're now not having it because our governor stepped in. Governor Reynolds denied it, refused it. And a buddy of mine was organizing pastors to go down there and protest this on Saturday. And we got word on Friday that Governor Reynolds was not going to permit that to be there this year. And he was very excited. I said, well, now y'all get together and just have a celebration. You don't have to protest. That's even better. All right. And I know from people I talk to, I'm sure you heard this too. You're closer to the governor even than I am. I had heard there were even the state attorney general and others, that State Attorney General Brenna Bird and others were telling her she had to put it up. We're going to lose in court. Who gives a flying flip about losing in court? Let's just do the right thing, and as opposed to game theorying out what courts may or may not say a year or two from now once all this gets adjudicated, why not just do the right thing right now? And that appears to be exactly what Governor Reynolds did.
It is what she did. And obviously she didn't care about would she lose in court. And I think she wanted to have this debate in court. And she still might have that opportunity to have that debate in court. But when you take a look at it, a little bit of free education for your viewers and listeners, government is an institution of God's. God's enemy is clearly Satan. And everybody knows, and this is spiritual warfare that's coming out from behind the curtain on center stage, saying this is spiritual warfare, and now you need to give me religious liberty just like you give God. Even though it's his institution, and it's designed for the purpose of the pursuit of righteousness and of justice, and I come to steal, kill, and destroy everything that is righteous and that is just. So Kim Reynolds said, tell you what, I'm going to call their bluff. And you're not going to do that. And you may even say it's because of some code we had that it could be harmful to minors. It's not just harmful to minors, it's harmful to society. And even though, let's say Brenna Bird's right that you'd lose in court, which I don't believe you would yet. Let's say she's right and say you'd lose in court. I believe you would win by a large margin in the court of public opinion. And that's what she needs to worry about as well. But she did the right thing because it was right. She didn't do the right thing because it was expedient. She knew she was going to put basically her skin out there to do it, but she did it anyway. And frankly, then, Steve, what she did, she took all the consternation out of that Capitol.
Exactly.
All the consternation out of the state about what should happen and what shouldn't happen. She just made a decision. It's not happening under my watch. Move on. So then the pastors that Mike and others were organizing, our own Chuck Hurley was down at the Capitol, instead of braving an ice storm, and a lot of those pastors would have braved an ice storm to get to that Capitol. They didn't have to brave their own lives to get to the Capitol. And for the dozen or 24 that showed up, it's now praise and worship and celebrating the real meaning of Christmas. Geez, there's no wonder why they decided to do this at Christmas time.
Nope.
And I used the argument. I said, so when we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, because that's a holiday, right?
We put up a display for the Klan.
Yeah, you put up a display for KKK. You guys going to allow that to happen? Freedom of speech, You're not going to allow that to happen. You don't allow this garbage to happen either. Thank God for Kim Reynolds in taking a stand. Everybody that knows her, everybody that's got her contact, tweet, your Facebook, social media, give her a shout out, give her a thank you for doing the right thing.
Amen to every word. And so much of where we are is just because of a crisis of leadership. People just will not step in. People will not say no. People will not say, here I stand, I can do no more. May God have mercy on my soul.
Yep.
And something that would have been an automatic, like, we're all old enough to remember when a Republican politician would have to buy somebody to do something like, hey, why don't you petition me for a satanic statue in an election year so I can refuse it and look great. I mean,
exactly.
This would have been like a grandstanding eye roller 20, 30 years ago.
Yep.
Now it's like a serious, we got to have a conference. We got to have an enclave to discuss these kinds of things. There is just a uniform crisis of leadership. People who will just simply say, my answer to that's going to be no. And then we'll see how you take your best shot. But my answer is going to be no. Yep. Much of what's happening to our culture would be alleviated if we had more men if fathers in the home, they would just say no. Yep. Take your best shot. People in leadership comprehensively in the culture, they're just saying, my answer is going to be no on that. Do your worst. We just don't have a lot of people willing to say no.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, Steve, when I talk to a lot of people who are either aspiring leaders or they're in our movement, they're part of our team, said leadership's not that difficult. You need to ask yourself, what would a good leader do right now? So if you're going to that porn site, you need to ask yourself, what would a good leader do right now? If you're flirtatious in a relationship, what would a good leader do right now? If it's putting a satanic display up in the Iowa Capitol and you're governor, what would a good leader do right now? And when you know the answer to what would a good leader do right now, then you do it. And then you lead. And our families will be better off, you'll be better off, our state will be better off, our country will be better off. But we need more people asking that question and forgetting about, well, what's the woke community going to do to me then if I don't do that?
What do people who already hate me, will never vote for me no matter what I do, will never support me no matter what I do? In other words, the contrast of Kim Reynolds and Caitlin Clark this last week, by the way.
Right. Oh, sure.
Let me try to, refashion my image with, a dress the likes of which you've never seen me in.
Yep.
Let me genuflect and claim that I still got everything, I earned it all, but I understand there's white privilege, and I stand on the backs of giants, most of them black lesbians, and I'm very sorry I was born white and like dudes, okay? Meanwhile, Kim Reynolds doesn't even put out a press release.
No.
Doesn't even have a press conference, all right? Just goes, skadoosh, we're out of here, and hits the kill switch on the Satanists. The contrast there, to me, I find striking.
Yeah. And the other part of it is, I look back at Kim Reynolds' deal. I believe it was early in the week last week where she made the decision this thing is not going up in our Capitol. It's a done deal. Like you said, Steve, she didn't put out a press release, didn't do anything. I don't think it was actually, I'm going to take some credit. I don't think it was actually until I put out a tweet going, this is not on the public schedule. Where's the proof of all the hoopla? And then all of a sudden it came out that no, it's not happening. But she still hasn't, basically spiked the football in the end zone. It's the right thing to do. Move on. And that's what she's doing. Good for her. She should be governor again, by the way.
I agree. She should run again.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. Is she going to do so?
I believe she. And you know what, Steve? Whether it's the Forbes magazine saying she's the best fiscal governor in the country, whether it's the family leader saying she's the best governor in the country on our issues, showing common sense leadership like this, we better hope and pray she runs again. I hope she does. And I think she will.
Here's the thing. Who would be an obvious heir apparent if she doesn't run again?
I don't.
Trying to think of who that is. If you and I could come up with could you and I right now?
Not yet. I mean, there's no doubt. I really believe that the Republican Party has a way deeper bench on a state level and on a federal level than the Democrat Party does. I don't know who the Democrats really have.
Well, there isn't a Democratic Party in Iowa right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you saw that we have supermajorities now in the state legislature, both House and Senate. And a lot of that's due to her bold and courageous leadership.
My thing.
They're rewarding her
if
for
it's
this.
not her, tell me who you can say right now is an elected office.
Yeah. We'll worry about that down the line because I just don't know who it is. I think she's going to run again, though. I think Iowans should reward her with a resounding win again.
All right. Let's talk about another woman from Iowa, Ann Seltzer.
Somebody I have personal experience with.
Yes, you do. All right. She's back and gave an interview over the weekend and said this.
About what the motivation anybody thinks I had and would act on in such a public poll. I don't understand it. And the allegations I take very seriously. They're saying that this was election interference, which is a crime. So the idea that I intentionally set up to deliver this response, when I've never done that before, I've had plenty of opportunities to do it. It's not my ethic. But to suggest without a single shred of evidence that I was in cahoots with somebody, I was being paid by somebody, it's all just kind of, it's hard to pay too much attention to it, except that they're accusing me of a crime.
So in the last hour, by the way, former President Donald Trump announced he's going to sue the Des Moines Register for that poll, by the way.
So she's going to find out real quick.
Yes. That discovery process could be a humdinger, as they used to say. All right. So 3 things about this, and then I want to get your reaction.
Sure.
All right. Ann missed your gubernatorial primary by about 20 points.
She had Branstad winning by 29. He won by 8, and only because the third party was propped up. So 21 points.
And this was the final primary poll 2 days before the
Sunday
vote.
before the Tuesday.
Yes. So, I mean, that kind of a miss, is de facto voter suppression, manipulation, even if it's unintentional. People just want their votes. It's just human psychology. People want their votes to count, and you published a poll in the paper telling them my vote doesn't matter, so why even show up?
And Steve, because I played a part in it, we didn't make a lot of noise about it, but I got to tell you how many times I got it brought up to me. That suppressed the vote in your strong areas, because they thought, if you're going to get beat, why go out to vote anyhow? But I'm not even going to do this. I'm ticked off at the system. Why do it? So these polls do matter. Keep going.
So Ann has been very right. She was dead on. We were on the Huckabee campaign.
Yep.
She nailed that one perfectly. She was the only one that really saw the late surge for Rick Santorum. Okay.
Yep,
so,
I agree.
So there is evidence for why she has been given so much national acclaim as a great pollster. But then there are these 2 massive outliers. The Trump poll where she missed by 19 points, your primary that she missed by 20. These are statewide elections, guys.
Yeah.
This isn't, hey, 500 people showed up I didn't expect in a state legislative race and I blew it. This is tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people are voting in these statewide elections. To miss by that level when you've been so right before, I think it does beg a question. How do you explain those outliers given your overall track record of success? Then one last thing, and then I'll turn it over to you. In the future, because of how prevalent betting markets are for politics now. So the day before Ann's poll, Kamala Harris was at 39 cents on the dollar in the betting markets. Within 24 hours, she was at 45 cents on the dollar. Given how many millions upon millions of dollars had already been bet into that market and that late in the game, this is the final days before the election, to move a market by 6 cents or 6 points that late is an incredible transfer of wealth. Do you know how many people probably hedged their bets right there and got out and made money just based off of her poll? Or how many people got in because of her poll thinking they were get ahead of the market and lost money? All right. So even if even if all her intentions were, I just sucked at this uniquely that bad, that day, that also effectively would have happened. I will predict in the future, Bob, we're going to see a scandal where there will be in the future some polling firm or pollster that will be discovered to plant, after establishing credibility, to plant outlier polls to manipulate markets so people can make a bunch of money off them. The betting market version of insider trading, essentially. Your thoughts?
Well, let me take number 3 first, the third point. I don't believe for a second Ann Seltzer did anything to make people millions of dollars because of her poll. That said, who hired her to do the polling is the Des Moines Register. And in 2010, in the gubernatorial primary, which you referenced, Steve, that I was a part of, the Des Moines Register definitely wanted Terry Branstad to win that primary. And the reason is because I said on day one I'd issue an executive order that would reestablish marriage between one man and one woman until the people of Iowa had a chance to vote on it. They wanted nothing to do with Bob Vander-Plaats. So whether it was a skewed poll or not on purpose, it gives people at least nefarious thinking about what's going on here. In this poll that she did with Donald Trump, the Register definitely wanted Kamala Harris to win that presidential election. And they wanted Iowa to be the lead in it. They wanted Iowa to make the news. That's why there gets to be nefarious thinking. Is it validated? We know this is exactly what she wanted to do? No, but it opens the door to ask a lot of questions. So when you're going, I'm mystified that people would even think this, of course they're going to think, because you are way off. My guess is when you get the results of those polls, you had to think it. What the heck is going on here? If that's an accurate poll, what the heck is going on here? And I got to believe a pollster with that big of an outlier, what would I do? I'd go back in the field. I'd go back in the field to say, does this justify?
Yes. Yep.
Do I ask other questions?
Right on.
This is wrong. But everybody, every pollster I believed in, when that poll came out, they said there's no way that has credit. And you and I knew it had no credit as soon as the poll came out.
That discovery process is going to be a real humdinger. All right. Because were those conversations had? Were those emails exchanged? Should we publish this? Why would we go through with this? Did you check your work? How about, because here's the thing also, a poll, when Ann Seltzer or Seltzer Water releases a poll, it is not the summation of all the people they contacted and what they thought. It is their weighted assessment of those results. Okay, that's what a pollster does. All right, they're not a surveyor; they're a pollster. They're putting their thumb on the scale to tell you what those results actually mean. 20 seconds. Go ahead.
If I was counseling Ann Seltzer right now, I'd say it's best to stay quiet and or say, "Hey, you were wrong. You missed it," and move on. Because now Senator Trump's going to see you. Last thing, Steve, America, CNBC poll says, you know what? They're all optimistic about a Trump presidency. Christmas, that's where our real hope is. We want Trump to do well, but put your faith in Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Amen.